said, it's been an interesting journey, as I was saying. So, 1999, my wings were broken. My father passed, my sister passed, and my sister mostly because she collapsed in front of me. I mean, I was living in Maryland still, and I remember when July 4th happened, and my girlfriends were calling me saying, "Come on, let's go down to the monument," as it was, customary for us party girls or party people in DC, 4th of July, let's go watch the fireworks. But something told me that day, don't go, stay home. And my sister was home. She'd been in a hospital for 30 days. And I just decided, I'm not going out. My girlfriend called me and she said, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Listen, I'm just going to stay with my sister." It's interesting. I saw that friend, Norma, shout out to Norma. I saw that friend last year in June, and we were reminiscing. And she was like, "Yeah, I remember that day you called me. I remember what I was doing when you called me to tell me about your sister." And I dropped everything and I came to you. That friend was what kept me sane. Besides, I was a party girl. I did all sorts of things. I mean, I had this rule. I will never buy drugs. I had this rule. I'll never buy drugs because, people like me, posh women like myself, we don't buy drugs. People provide us with drugs. Well, when I was provided, I used. I have no shame in that. I used drugs and, it was there. It was like, like you go to some party and they're like, "Here, would you like some nuts?" And, and you're like, "Yes, thank you." Or somebody says, "Would you like some of this powder?" "Oh, yes, thank you." And that's how it was, and, some people had more willpower than I did, but I was the type of girl, I was very free spirited. And I just I was the experimental girl. It was just like, remember that commercial? I don't know how old you are. Remember that commercial, Mikey, and give it to Mikey. Mikey will try everything. Well, give it to Sandra. Sandra will try everything. So I tried it. So that's why I'm able to stay sober. So the reason why I'm doing this today is because it was 25 years ago that I decided to stop this lifestyle. Because what I decided to do was get my shit together. I had to get my shit together. It was my mother was upset at my lifestyle, and mind you, I had not had such a close relationship with my mother when she came to live with me in '98. And I saw how this woman was just like brokenhearted every time she saw me party, and I didn't come home till like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I had this thing. My father did the same. And I was like, you know what? Daddy seems to be the powerful one in this relationship. So I'm going to be just like daddy. So I grew up and I became daddy. I'm going to get my degrees. I'm going to be powerful. I'm going to be alpha. Nobody can F with me. And you know what? But my mother, just like she used to cry with my dad, she was crying with me. She was like, "Oh my God, you make me so miserable." And I was like, "Oh my God, I have really become my father." So 99, I remember my mother had been living with me for 7 months, and I decided, I need to do something different or I am just going to die. I said, I'm going to become one of these women on Biscayne Boulevard that would just do anything, anytime, anywhere, right? And remember, I'm the experimental girl. I'll try anything. But you know what? Those things I could tell were not numbing me enough. I remember screaming at the top of my lungs. My friends came to see me in Miami, and I was just a mess. I was drinking, and they were like, "Oh my God, you need to come back to DC." And I knew that was not the answer because my sister died in the DC metropolitan area with me. And I was now in Miami. And she had said to me before she passed, "You need to get out of DC. You're never going to become anything until you get out of DC." At the time when she died, I was engaged to this, what do you call it? It was just German psychiatrist. But guess what? I was drinking more than I could ever imagine when I was with this German psychiatrist. And you know what? It's interesting how, and I was saying this the other day, and I was in a 12-step meeting, and I said, people give people of affluence a pass because they look good on the outside. We have just as much trauma as when you go to those lower income neighborhoods. Maybe we still have financial trauma in the affluent community, because if you think about it, what's happening in the world, it's all about greed and money. That is trauma. Whether you have trauma because you have lack of money, whether you have trauma, you've got lots of money, and you just want to get more, that is trauma, because deep inside, there is a part of you that believes that it's going to end. And so you have to accumulate at the expense of others. You have to accumulate as much as you can. And it doesn't matter who gets hurt. It doesn't matter. You're going to get yours. Well, guess what? At some point, you're going to have to meet your maker. And, in addition to, getting to the 12th step and AA and all that. And I don't really necessarily go to AA meetings as much as I used to. I mean, I go every year to pick up my chips, and I do appreciate all the spiritual, the spiritual, how can I say, the environment that it provides, because the 12 steps are built on a God consciousness. I do believe that these people were downloaded through them because of their the desire to be more connected to God. Because when you get into the 11th step, that's like where it really gets really spiritual. But again, it encourages you to turn your life over to a higher power, a greater creator,